My name is Megan Cotnam. I'm a doctoral candidate at the University of Ottawa and at the Université de Corse. I'm at the end of my second year of my PhD program, and I've already done one 8-month stint in Corsica, and I'm planning to go back next year. A Cotutelle program allows you to study at 2 different universities at the same time for your PhD. So you get to work at the university here in Canada as well as at a university abroad. It has also allowed me to work with 2 different research directors. So I have a research director here at the University of Ottawa and one at the Université de Corse. I'm working with 2 different research labs, and at the end I will get a diploma from each university. My thesis program looks to school choice in linguistic minority areas. So I'm looking specifically to the choice of students to stay in a linguistic minority program or to go towards a program in the majority language. So in Ontario, looking at the choice to stay in a French language program, and on the island of Corsica, looking at students who want to stay in the bilingual program with the Corsican language and French, or to go towards the majority language program, which is French. The advantages for doing a Cotutelle abroad are numerous. I would say first, scientifically, just speaking for my thesis, doing an international comparative study brings a lot to the table. Instead of only looking at the local context, which interests me here in Ontario, that I know quite well, I'm also able to look abroad at a context that is different, that allows me to think about certain things that we sometimes take for granted in our classrooms, and to think about just different ways that we could be looking at the same questions. I also would like to think, hopefully, that this thesis could bring about some international transfers of good practices for teachers, of theories, and that will just help me have a more broad perspective on the subjects that I'm studying for my thesis. Professionally speaking, there are also numerous advantages to doing a Cotutelle. I was able to meet my thesis supervisor, Alain Di Meglio, who introduced me to his colleagues, who let me be a part of his research laboratory, in which case I met students and professors who were working there. We're collaborating together for conferences, for articles, all of which are in Europe, which is very rare for Canadian students to get to go to these conferences, but also to know which conferences we should apply to or which journals we should apply to. So that was very rich as well. And personally also, just being able to experience 8 months abroad, knowing that I'm going back next year again, doing field research abroad, but also enjoying myself in the cuisine and the culture. It was really just a positive experience. The best memories that I have of Corsica were probably the entirety of the experience. I've been to Europe before on small trips for a week or 2 weeks, school trips or small backpacking stints, and you don't get the sense that you get to know the people or the culture very well. So when I was there for 8 months, living in a very small village in Cotutelle, I really got the chance to get to know the people, to get to know the cuisine, to try to learn a new language, the Corsican language. I also discovered a new passion of mine, which is hiking. I'd never done any hiking before in Canada, but when you're living on an island with the mountains and the views that you have on Corsica, you learn to hike very quickly. So I spent a lot of weekends doing that and just enjoying the time that I had there, starting to feel like I felt part of the community, not feeling like an outsider. I'd say that was the best part of my time on Corsica. I think that I wasn't expecting a culture shock, and that was probably the biggest challenge I met when I first moved to Corsica. It was just a lot of subtle, small things that are different than here in Canada. And I realized that I didn't have to just play along, that it was okay to ask questions when you didn't understand a joke, or on campus that things are all similar but all quite different at the same time, the way that information is posted and the way that just culturally it's okay sometimes if professors are a little bit late and everyone waits, or the times for lunch and all those kinds of things. So there was a little bit of a culture shock when I first moved there, but at the same time I think that that's part of the adventure and it's part of learning a new culture. So even though it was a challenge, it was also part of the fun. I would highly recommend the Cotutelle program to any student who asks me about my experience. It requires that a student be somewhat independent and be able to negotiate back and forth between the 2 universities, between the 2 thesis supervisors. But the enormous amount of interest that it can bring for your thesis, because it's a comparative study and it takes on a whole new level in that sense. And the experience of working with two universities, working with two supervisors, there are numerous positive outcomes that come for that for students, and I definitely think that it's something that I would highly recommend to anyone who is interested in the program. Today I am still a PhD student. I've just finished my second year, so I've finished the coursework and the exams, and now the next phase is my field research. So next year I'll be returning to Corsica to do my field research in schools there, and I'm very much looking forward to that. And I think that at the end of my PhD program, the Cotutelle will help me in numerous ways, both for my CV, but also for academic publications and conferences, and it will definitely help me, I hope, in searching for a new position.